to you. Illawarra! Illawarra! And people don't believe in Wollongong, doubt us all year. You better start believing because we'll be back next year.
Ball driving. 7 seconds left. He pulls the trigger. Big shot taker. Big shot maker. Tyler Harvey enormous.
Yes, welcome back to the Hawks Hangout, your one-stop shop for everything Illawarra Hawks. Corey, my man, we are back in a massive way, back in the winning circle. But like always, a big, massive shout-out to our sponsors over at Enable U2 and our main man over at Principal Brewing. And also, a big, massive shout-out to all of our HSC students doing their HSC in the next couple of weeks. If you're watching this podcast, which you shouldn't be, you should be studying instead.
100.
We appreciate all your support. Best of luck in all of your exams. Corey, what have we got on store for today's episode?
Okay, so for today's episode, we're going to be reviewing the last 3 games the Hawks have had against the Perth Pussycats, against the New Zealand Breakers, and last night's massive win against the Brisbane Bullets. So first up, we're going to be looking at that game against Perth. It was a tough game. What did you think about the game, bud?
We started actually surprisingly really, really well in this game. We ended the first quarter and we're up 10 points. It was 20-10. It was the lowest scoring points quarter at RAC Arena for the Perth Wildcats in quite a long time. And the defense was just on point. Wally Bales was out there doing all of his steals and all of his defense menace like he was. Dan Greedo is the exact same, doing all of his defensive menacing stops and all the rest of it. JaVale McGee, can't knock him. Double-double machine, like always, was absolutely killing it. And honestly, I was like, here we go.
Yeah,
we're here. We've dropped the game.
It looked really good in that first quarter. We'd hit 5 or 6 threes. Perth were 0 of 9 from 3, and we were rolling it. It looked good offensively, but defense was super impressive, super stifling defense. But then second quarter started, and we looked like pretty much the same. And it looked like, here we go. Like, keep this up, boys. We've got this. And it looked like we're going to take probably about a 10-point lead into halftime. Then there was a couple of minutes just before halftime. They made a little bit of a change up, put on some full court press D. It caused a couple of turnovers, and then they started hitting some threes. Windler started hitting a couple of threes, and they started to look to build that confidence. And all of a sudden, it happened in a flash.
Yeah.
Looked like we were going to have a 10-point lead at halftime, up something like 39-28, and we ended up going in at halftime down. And it was all on the back of a 15-4 run in that last 2 minutes when we were restricting them massively with their scoring. I think they were only in the 20s, and then they went to the half with about 44. So, and that was all in the back. So they got hardly anything in 18 minutes, and then in 2 minutes got 15 quick points. And that really changed the game. And then they got their confidence and started banging in threes. They went from 0 of 9, and at the end of the game, they were 11 from 31. So they went from that point on, 11 from 22, shot 50% from the 3 in the last 3 quarters. And I think that was the difference in the game because we only went on to hit about 3 more threes ourselves. We couldn't hit a 3 for the save our life. Toddy just couldn't seem to get one to go. And Tyler just couldn't seem to get his groove back that he had in the first quarter. And it looked like, to be honest with you, we were actually going to get rolled by quite a bit. They built a decent lead. And then we got that history of Tatum never being flogged. And we sort of chipped away and made the score look a little bit respectable in the end. But Perth did definitely dominate that second half.
Yeah, then dominate they did. Like, just looking at the stats here, Corey, when they went in there, they came out our third quarter Achilles heel like normal. They outscored us 23-13. So we were down at least 10. We went into the break at halftime down 1. We then went into 3 quarters down 10. We then were quarter 4, 25-28 to the Hawks. So we ended up scoring more, but off the back of that second quarter where they outscored us 34-23, that was the issue, and that was the problem right there. Scoring another 9 points on top of that, plus then the extra 10 points that they got in there. They ended up winning the 92-84, which they did. Our stats for the end of the game, we sat at 9 from 26, from the three-pointer. And we have always said, If the Hawks can hit over that magical number of 10, which we'll talk about in a second, if they hit over that magical number of 10, they are very, very hard to beat if they've hit 10 or more threes in a game. The rest of it, though, 15 from 22 from our free throw line. So not too bad, not too shabby from the free throw line, and 21 from 48 from the field. So just under 40% from the field for the entirety of the game, Corey.
And we look at the stats for Perth. Perth had 5 guys in double figures, which is always what you want to do. If you can get 5 people contributing, it's going to go a long way to getting the victory. JLA was really impressive with 22 points. Doolittle 17, and then Windler was huge with 16 points and 14 rebounds. Massive game from him. But Mason Jones chipped in. He still doesn't seem like he's found his feet just yet. He had 12 points, but hit some important buckets towards the end. They had Elijah Pepper with 11, who also played quite well in minimal minutes. But we look at us, and it was obviously JaVale McGee, who was outstanding with 26 and 14. Harvey had his 19, which he's been consistently getting. One, he had a nice little game. He hit 3 threes, I believe, and had 14 points. McLaughlin got 13, but I think that was a lot of points towards the end where he was taking it to the basket, getting to the free throw line and building that up. It wasn't many points early on. When the game was pretty much done and dusted, he got most of his points there. And then outside of that, we didn't really have any other significant contribution. So we had 4 guys in double figures, and then no one else was really close. Like our bench only contributed 12 points, which is not the Hawks way. And we'll talk a little bit more about what happened in that victory. And we can see last year when we were a dominant force, the bench was a huge contributor, and that was like getting us lots of wins. 12 bench points is really not going to get it done. So, disappointing result considering it looked like we started that game really well and we were a chance to beat Perth. Yeah. And I think you want to get Perth early in the season because I think they're going to be one of the teams who will get better throughout the year. I'm thinking Mason Jones, he's not really at his peak at the moment. I think he's adjusting to the league, but he's a quality player, and I think he's only going to get better. JLA has already shown that he deserves $1 million price tag. He's just a beast. And so I think Perth will get better. So hopefully we can get them. We play them again soon. Hopefully we can get them in that game. But let's move on to the next game against New Zealand, mate. What did you think about that one? wasn't pretty.
Look, it's kind of spoke it into existence where we've said we've never been flogged under Tatum before. Yeah, we can scratch that and we can scratch that out of the books. And I think it's what the Hawks needed. I think it's what the club needed. I think it's what Tatum needed. I think it's what all of the players needed. You know, they've had some close wins, some close games. We only just lost to Tassie in the opening game. We only just lost to Perth. We're going in there going, okay, we can just beat them, or we'll beat them by this many. Or if we lose, we're only going to lose by under 10 points. And we come out and lose by almost 30 points. It was not Hawks. It was not Hawks basketball at all.
It wasn't. And it was. I've been the person who said that one really impressive thing is that under Tatum, we'd never been flogged. I call a flogging like a 20-point plus. I think he's had a 16-point loss to Tassie and a 14-point loss to Adelaide in his whole tenure here. So we were due, and you know what? It's probably what we needed, but unfortunately, it happened in the Ignite Cup where you get points for every quarter. We did not even win one quarter. So New Zealand went away with all 7 points in the Ignite Cup. They just seem to be the kings of that system. They won the Blitz with us played under the same system. And then they collect 7 points here against the Hawks. So they've set themselves up. It's only 4 games they play, but collecting 7 points in one game is pretty damn impressive. I think Melbourne collected 6 against Sydney. So it's not easy to collect all points in every quarter, because usually if you're dominating a team like they did against the Hawks, that they put on their lesser players, and the other team wins a quarter at the end because they haven't got their best players on. But that didn't even happen. Like, we got it within 10, I think, in the last quarter. And I was like, come on, hit the next bucket here and let's get this going, get under 10. And then all of a sudden, I'm like, man, we're down 25.
Yeah.
They were hitting threes left, right, and center. They hit 18 threes. And before that, they were the worst three-point shooting team in the competition. The Hawks only hit 8 threes. And that was the difference in the game. They were just knocking them down. And at some stage, it's frustrating watching, but you could tell the scout was probably, okay, let them shoot from out there. They haven't been great.
Yeah.
But then they just kept hitting. And it was like, I know lots of supporters were saying like, oh, come on, get a hand out of them. They're on fire. But it's like sometimes it can be hard to adjust mid-game to what the scouting report is. But I guess we just got to get better at that. If any team in the comp who starts to hit threes, even if they're not normally like a great three-point shooter based on law of averages, you still got to respect it if they've hit a couple in a row and get a hand out to it. But 18 threes was just, you don't lose basketball games when you're hitting 18 threes. It's just that simple, really. But they dominated across the board.
Yeah.
Parker Jackson Cartwright had a ridiculous number of assists. It was something like 17. But in saying that, it's pretty, some of them are great passes, I'm not going to lie, but sometimes it's easy to get assists if you're just at the top of the key, pick it to a wing and they hit a three. That's what they were doing, because it was a high percentage of threes being hit, but like not going to downplay that. He was outstanding. Menenga was outstanding. Even there, like
Carlin Davidson.
He was
unreal.
Yeah, unreal. Threes, dunks, like he was spectacular. They had lots of contributions as well. Who were some of the Hawks' better players on the day, mate?
And look, our bench points again, we only had 18 bench points in that game. We had 5 from Toddy, 5 from Greeter, 2 from Bales, 2 from Bolden, and 4 from Harry. So, not a quite productive bench that we're used to seeing. The rest of our points, those 70 points, came from our starters, with about 40 of those coming from just JaVale and Tyler alone. Tyler having 22, JaVale having 19. We had Peatling on 14. We had Swiker Bullock on 10. And then McLaughlin, he was on 5. It's also worth noting that across both of those 2 games before, obviously, the inevitable, those 2 road trip games, Corey McLaughlin, 3 from 12 in the game against Perth, so 25%. And then in this game, he was 2 from 9. Yeah. So both of those combined, he was 5 from 21, which is 24%. As a starting point guard, 24% in any league across the world is not going to cut it. Yeah. And obviously there was a lot of false accusations thrown out this week by Code Sports and a lot of other news outlets and all the rest of it, which honestly, in my opinion, I find absolutely disgusting. No way should a journalist of any form, whether you be a media person, whether you be, Fox Sports, whether it be ESPN, whoever it may be, your journalistic integrity to go out and say that someone is a cancer in the locker room, to say that their locker room behavior affects the club and the mentality of all the players in it. I think that's absolutely disgusting when A, you're not in the locker room, B, you've got no idea who this person is outside of the court, and C, you've got no idea what's going on behind closed doors in the club. Like, he was brought in to play a role that he was no longer able to play purely for the fact that Davo was out with his eye injury. And a question that we asked in the press conference last night to JT, after he addressed those and stood up for Ja'Cory McLaughlin, like the rest of the club has, going, hey, this isn't right. He was actually a great person and a great fit for the club. It was just unfortunate that the role he was supposed to play was not the role he ended up playing, purely for the fact that Davo was out injured. And the question I was asked was, well, Davo doesn't get injured. Do we see him stay with the club? Do we see a different dynamic with him? And the answer was, well, we'll never know. Yeah. But obviously that's the role that he was brought in to play, kind of like an Ian Clark type role. And so then the follow-up question was, well, a replacement import player, will it be an in-point point guard? And the answer was purely, we've got the pieces so far. It will be an import player of sorts. So whether that be an in-point stretch, it might be a 3-4, it might be a 2-3, it might be a 1-2 combo guard that, can take the pressure off Harvey and Hickey and allow Bales to slot into the point or slot into the 2, whatever it may be. And we have this natural scorer. It gives us options now. But for Ja'Cory McLaughlin, it's a massive loss from the club standpoint of view, because he was great. Anytime we came across him, whether it be after a game, before a game, out in public, he was great. He always had time for his fans. He always had time for the people. He was always engaging on social media, was always commenting, always liking things, and was just an all-around great person. So for people to go out and target him and diminish his abilities as a basketball player and as a person, I think that's just disrespectful and wrong, when you guys are the ones that, sit behind your desks as keyboard warriors, not knowing what's going on at all. Yeah. So
it's disappointing, but I will say this. I think at the end of the day, the right decision has been made.
Yeah.
I do feel for Jacory because he got signed to play a particular role and never actually got the chance to play that because this whole roster was built around the fact that Dave Hickey was going to be the starting point guard. So he didn't get the opportunity to actually play the role that he was supposed to play. But in adding to that, I will say this. It's pro sports. All right. We're not playing kids sports. It's pro sports. And in pro sports, when you get an opportunity, when someone goes down, you're all pro athletes. You all know that you can compete at this level. That's your chance to show what you got and say that, you know what, you did hire me for this role, but hey, I'll show you I could probably do a bit more than that. And unfortunately, it didn't go well for Jacory, and he didn't take it. I'll say it this way. Like, look at Hickey last year.
Yeah.
Last year, Hickey had the same opportunity. Kel got injured a couple of times and missed, and so it was Hickey's chance to step up, and he did. And he ended up winning finals MVP and took his opportunity. And now he's getting the rewards for that. Unfortunately, he's been injured, but that's the difference. You get an opportunity, you take it, and things happen. If you don't, especially if you're an import, unfortunately, you got to make moves quickly. Otherwise, you can be well behind the 8 ball and the season could be over before you know it. So I do feel for Jacory because it was not the circumstances he expected. But from all reports, he's a great guy and took it on the chin and understands it's pro sports.
Yeah.
He'll move on. He'll get another opportunity, and I'm sure he's going to do really well, and we wish him all the best. But I think overall, it was the best decision, especially coming after that game against New Zealand. They totally dominated us. Again, they had 6 guys in double figures.
Yeah.
Lopez was super impressive too. Next star, I thought he was outstanding. But like when you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, like I said, getting double figures and 2 guys off the bench, Tarangi had 18 off the bench. That's pretty big. And they were just
plus your point guard having 17
assists. Like that was special. And then you look at like again, our main contributors were Harvey and McGee. Peatling chipping in nicely again, and Winey getting his double figures. But we only had 4 in double figures, and like you said, the bench didn't really do too much. But that stat that I read before last night's game, that McGee and Harvey had scored 53% of all of the Hawks' points over the first 3 games. So any team's doing that. Like I know everyone this is why I say I don't necessarily want the Hawks to have the MVP because I think if you have the MVP, they're getting big numbers or whatever, but other people aren't contributing. And if that happens, you don't win. In the NBL, you need to have multiple guys contributing on a regular basis. And we're going to move on to the next game, which is going to be the positive against the Bullets last night. It was really good to see. It was a great vibe in the venue last night. It was good too. Shout out to a couple of listeners who said hello to me. It's the first time it sort of happened to me since I've done this podcast, saying that they watch it and so forth. Saw Wayne on the street after the game. He was super hyped, saying, the podcast is going to be positive today. I said, yeah, look out for it tomorrow. I'll give you a little shout out. It's great to see the Hawks fans happy again. I know it was been a tough start to the season, but the WEC was rocking. It was a big crowd again, which was great to see. And we dominated from start to finish. You're up 22-2. I don't think I've ever seen the Hawks up 22-2 to start a game. I've been supporting them for many, many years, 30 plus years. And I'm telling you, I don't think I've ever seen them start a game up 22-2. I just could not believe it. It was like watching a junior rep basketball game where one team was significantly better than the other. But Brisbane look like they're in all sorts.
Yeah, absolutely.
I know they've lost an import who I had touted pre-season as being a potential MVP candidate. So you can cross that as being wrong from me because he's not even going to be here. So he was special. There's some things coming out, and I know like media, like you said before, can get the things wrong, but there's rumors there that the players aren't necessarily liking what's happening there coaching-wise. I know they gave this coach an opportunity, and from all reports, he seems to be the reason they gave it to him was probably on the back of the fact that Tatum's won the championship, and it was on the back of the fact that he's a real great communicator and players coach and manages adults, men really, really well and can get motivated and get them out of it. This is what this guy potentially set. That's why they signed him, because he had that skill set, not necessarily so strong in the X's and O's, and relies heavily apparently on his assistants to get that stuff done. And when you're losing, the players can turn really quickly. And it sounds like that's the reports coming out, that they're saying they're not necessarily very happy about what's happening. And a lot of the veteran and players are starting to lead the team rather than the coach. And there's reports that Jalen Adams is like not turning up to meetings on time and certain things like that. But again, you got to take that with a grain of salt. Like we said before, I'm just reading what I'm reading from other people, but
Yeah,
it doesn't seem like Brisbane is going too well at the moment. And what did you think was some of the key takeaways from last night's game?
it was interesting to note because, again, fortunate enough to be able to go and sit down in on that press conference, and Stu Lash walks in by himself. No players, no nothing. He walks in with one of his assistant coaches who come and sits next to me up the back, and Stu Lash comes and sits down, greets us all. We get underway. And again, same thing happens with him. Sits in there, addresses all of the negative comments that are coming out in the media. But, apparently players are playing through personal issues. Players are playing through medical issues. Obviously, you've got Casey Prather coming back after having that horrific head knock, probably not playing his best basketball, but still finishing the game as their best player with 28 points. He was absolutely unreal. And that wasn't even him as fit as possible from the sounds of things. You've still got Jacob Holt out with a hip injury. He'll be expected to be out until round 9, round 10. And you've got quite a few other people out till about that round 9, round 10 mark. Mitch Norton obviously being out, who, again, is a massive contributor for that team, and a massive veteran leadership for that team as well. So, again, quite a lot of things behind closed doors that, if you're not a part of the club and you're not in the club, you've got no idea what is going on behind closed doors. So to be commenting on things you've got no idea about, unless you've heard it from the source itself, I don't know why people are commenting on it. It's just clicks. It's just media, all the rest of it. It's how you make your money. It's how you have your jobs kept and all the rest of it. I just think it's absolutely hilarious that that's what people have got to do in today's day and age to write a story and to get people to like and follow their Instagram pages and all the rest of it. I just think it ruins the integrity of what the league has built and what people have built on their platforms, to just sit there and to diminish in a club who, quite honestly, had the best starting 5 in the league. You looked at it from top to bottom. And
I said that were the best, but and Dukas was disappointing last time.
Oh yeah.
For
Absolutely.
a guy who's played in the NBA, I was expecting him to come in and be a little bit better than what he was.
Like a reigning NBA champion, mind you.
Yeah. So he's been disappointing. Obviously, they've lost Freeman, Liberty. I still rate Prather. Adams is still, they're both quality players. Harrison, again, didn't have his great night, and that was probably one of the key takeaways from the game.
Yeah.
JaVale McGee dominated him, and Harrison got in early foul trouble, but had his worst game of the season so far. I think he only had 5 points, 4 rebounds, I believe.
Yeah.
Which is definitely his worst game. He only played 20 minutes, but 5 points, 4 rebounds is disappointing for him. But yeah, just in regards to what I said earlier, again, I'm only reporting from what someone has said here. This is not me. Someone's posted, just spoke to a player who was sitting on the bench tonight. There are some serious internal issues. Jalen Adams is a cancer, consistently misses team meetings, yet Lash doesn't hold him accountable. Freeman Liberty apparently didn't mutually part ways. He left because he hated the environment. So super interesting. Again, take it with a grain of salt. Also says that Lash relies heavily on his assistants, on the X's and O's, was named head coach because of his communication and man management skills. This player has told me that the senior players are now driving this club, and it's just a matter of time if the management actually have the plums to get rid of him. So super interesting. That some of this media stuff can sometimes really motivate a team, and I hope for Brisbane it does, because I have said earlier they're the only team who haven't made the top 6 since the top 6 has been a thing, and hasn't been a thing for very long.
Yeah.
And to say that they're the only team who hasn't done it, I really thought Brisbane were going to have a big year. Again, you can't control the injuries. They didn't have McDaniel. They didn't have Norton.
No.
Obviously didn't have Freeman Liberty. They're 3 key players. They may not always be all of them massive contributors on the scoreboard, but McDaniel is a lockdown defender. Norton's an incredible leader. Freeman Liberty is just a flat-out great player. So when you take 3 players out, you're going to struggle. And plus Harrison, early foul trouble, blew the game away from them. But it's just, I hope for Brisbane's sake that they can sort of get something going, because they did build a nice little, and I know that their fan base was pretty excited, and it would be disappointed if they sort of fade away this season and aren't there or thereabouts. But what did you think some of the key stats were, mate?
Woo. Let's get into it, because there is quite a few unique and interesting stat lines that have come out from this game. So first of all, it is the highest scoring first quarter and first half by a team in the NBL this season.
Let's go.
By an NBL team across the board.
68.
Right so far. 68 points in a half is the highest scoring in the NBL so far, and 34 points in a quarter so far is the biggest quarter a team has had to open the account for the NBL. So
they deliberately didn't get 6-7.
Yeah, they missed free throw, so the score didn't end on 6-7. I know Matty Mims was a bit upset with that one. He didn't get to do his 6-7 with all of the fans afterwards. But Corey, the biggest stat line from this game for me, Brisbane couldn't seem to hit a three for the absolute life of them. They very much did a Hawks, and they went 3 from 22.
Wow.
The Hawks hit their magic number. They hit 11 from 25. So they hit over that magic number of 10 that we always like to say. So 33 points just from 3 alone. You take that away, and they're still in the 90s, almost the high 80s, low 90s for points. Our 2-point percentage, we were 32 from 46.
70%?
So we were 70% from the
2-point.
Oh,
that's incredible.
Ridiculous. And we were 19 from 28 from the free throw line compared to their 26 of 33. So they went to the line more times. There was one point in there where, the fouls were stacked against Brisbane, and it was quite early, but it was purely for the fact that our players were just absolutely hammering on the inside. Obviously, it was our first game without Ja'Cory McLaughlin. So that starting lineup, we thought, okay, is Bawali going to start? How's this starting lineup going to look? Tyler Harvey, back to his natural point guard abilities, slides back down into the 1. Wiley Swarker playing the 2. Todd Blanchfield playing the 3. Peatling playing the 4. And our man, Big Mac McGee, playing the 5. Another little stat for you, Corey. It is the first time a player has had 20 points, 10 rebounds, and 5 steals as a point guard in the 40-minute era since 1983, when it was the great Phil Smythe.
Wow.
Who scored that scoreline. So,
and he had 7 rebounds as well.
7 rebounds.
He's going to be on MVP ladder now for sure. 22, 7, 10, 4 is outstanding at 53% shooting.
Yep.
That is super impressive. But the best thing I think that came out of this, we had 7 guys in double figures.
Almost 8.
Almost 8 with Froling on 9. And we had the bench points was like 43.
43 bench points,
which
finally.
is a significant improvement on the past. And that's without like a player. We didn't have J-Rock.
With 2 players.
Yeah, without Hickey and J-Rock didn't play. So that's huge. That's a bench would be seen as being potentially lesser, and we got more out of them. So I think that was a huge thing. McGee, I'll say McGee, he's got to be very, very thankful for Xavier Cooks. And I say that because Xavier went 1 of 10 from the free throw line. Big Mac went 3 of 8. So he's making you look very, very good at the moment.
Yep.
But we've got to sort those free throws out, Big Mac. I'm telling you. But yeah, he's got to be thankful for Xavier Cooks because, he's a walking brick at the moment. And I think it's in his head. 1 of 10.
1 of 10.
1 of 10.
You can't be doing that as a
for
professional.
A boomer.
Cannot be doing that. But it was also interesting to note as well, Corey, like JaVale McGee played less minutes in this game and he only played 22 minutes.
Yeah, that's
finished
good.
With still a double-double of 13, 12, and he had 3 assists as well as about 2 or 3 blocks again, like normal.
That's what we want from him.
He had 2 steals, I think, in there as well. So we would rather that from him rather than the 30 plus and him absolutely wreck himself.
100%. And I said at the start of the year, if we can get 10 and 10 from him consistently, that's great. And then after he started his first few games, I sort of said if he can average 20 and 10, like when he has like a little bit of a game like this, but we still got the win, and other games he has big games. All his averages at the moment are 22.5 points and 10.5 rebounds over 4 games.
Yeah.
and averaging 3 assists as well at a 68% field goal percentage. It's pretty impressive.
There is no way a 7-foot center just.
The only thing that is free throw percentage would be the only thing that I'd be concerned about. But everything else is like well beyond expectations I had after 4 games for JaVale McGee. But like I'm going to say, a little unsung hero this season, who often gets underrated, is Mason Peatling. He's been super consistent for us this season. He's averaging 7.3 points, 1.5 assists, and 4 rebounds at 57%. He's just like really consistent, and he's hitting the 3 a little bit more consistently. And he just does a little thing for us. He's always done that. Like I think he's been spectacular in this little tough period for the Hawks with injuries. He's really stepped up and shown those leadership qualities that he's known for. Big Mason Peatling fan, and I just want to give him a shout out because I think often he gets forgotten about, but he's a big part. And when times are tough, he's the sort of guy who steps up and really shows his qualities. And like the Hawks are going to need that. Like I know we're 1-3. We're going to need to get a couple more wins. So you want to be at that 50-50. Don't want to be chasing your tail too much. And hopefully we can get there. We've got a couple of tough road games coming up before we head back to the WEC. But what are other things you want to take away from this spectacular win last night, mate?
There was quite a few things to take away from it as well. Obviously, a big, massive shout out to all of our bench boys. Like that was absolutely huge. Kobe McDowell-White getting the green light this week and getting elevated to the full roster spot in the absence of Ja'Cory McLaughlin coming in there towards the back end of the game where there was quite a few minutes left, and he still had a solid outing himself. He had 3 minutes in the game. He had a few assists, a few rebounds, and a few steals. Obviously, there was a few turnovers and a few bad passes, but that was just because Brisbane had a unit on that really exploited the Hawks there at one point in time, and that was being led from the front by Lamar Patterson. And there's no one else that you could lead a second unit to try and come back into the game.
He was actually pretty good, Lamar, I thought.
He had a blinder of a game. And worth noting as well that he was training at the same time that Ja'Cory McLaughlin was training with us. And we obviously went down that route rather than the Lamar Patterson route as he signed back with Brisbane and moved over there. For me, big, massive shout out to Sparkle Narkle himself.
Yes.
5 points on debut.
First NBL points.
Mate, that kid is something special.
Sparkle Narkle.
Championship mentality all the way through. He is an NBL 1 champion. He's an NBL 1 national champion. He is getting in there. He's getting the dirty work and quite literally did a Sammy D, banked that 3 off the glass. And
did he call bank?
I don't know.
Did you call it for him down there?
I called bank for him. And if you go and have a look at the NBL and the Illawarra Hawks Instagram pages and you watch the video feed of him doing it, if you have a look in the corner where the stairs are, you can see a little certain someone
numbnut
throw up the 3 in the air. And then next thing you know, he's got the steal and he's just run down the court and you can just hear the crowd change. And I'm telling you, Corey, I don't know how these players do it because I thought it was loud in the stands. It is 10 times louder down on that court. And they threw it. They threw the roof off the place for him when he dunked that down. The boys were up off the bench, cheering and yelling him on. He was going for it. I was going for it down in the corner. Again, you can see me in the corner pumping my fist. Poor Jo Grace Healy's in front of me, and I think she copped the fright of her life when I screamed out. But honestly, it was just great to see them all getting in there. Luca getting some game time. Seeing Jonah Antonio get some game time.
Yeah, hit a nice 3 as well.
It was just...
And Bolden was strong.
Bolden.
Coming back from injury, he was exactly what we need. 11 points. I think he had a few boards there as well. 3 rebounds. He was like exactly what we need from him. Really good. But you know what I love about the Hawks? And I think we do this better than any other team. They are really happy for their development guys and stuff. I know other teams like everyone like that. The Hawks really get excited for their teammates who are those development guys who work really hard. Like I was down at the Snake Pit the day of the New Zealand Breakers game, and obviously the development guys don't travel, and they were there out doing a workout, working hard. It's good to see those guys there. Plus Sammy and Davo were there shooting around a little bit as well, doing a lighter workout, obviously recovering from injuries. But the other guys are working hard. It's good to see Jackson Ball.
Yeah,
I'm telling you, he looks like a real athlete, that kid.
Yeah.
I was speaking to Luca about him too, because he's a fellow Kiwi, and he said, man, he can flat out play. He's super talented. I was actually shocked about, like, because he's only a young 18-year-old kid. He has like a man's body. He looks really strong. He's great size for basketball. Can shoot the ball quite well. I watched for a little bit. I'm excited about him. Obviously, like, you're not going to throw him out there. He's going to be the savior for the Hawks, but hopefully we can keep him for a little bit, because he looks like he could be a real talent and has something about him. So that's pretty exciting. But I think we're going to have a little chat, mate. I think I didn't say this, we'd chat about this today, but I think because we've got that slot open for a new import, who we think it might be. I know I've got my take on it, and not everyone agrees, but I'll try to explain to you why I think we could potentially go on this. Now, the season has started. Like, I know you can go out there and get a new import, maybe get someone who hasn't even been in the league before, but my worry about this is it's been shown already in this season with other teams who've brought in high caliber imports and big names, and all their so-called experts are getting super excited. Oh my God, they're championship favorites now. They just signed this guy. Like Mason Jones is an example of it. Freeman Liberty was another example of it. Freeman Liberty's already gone. Mason Jones is struggling. I'm not going to say he's going to continue to struggle, but I don't think the Hawks can afford to get someone in who can have that grace period and struggle for 4 or 5 games to get the feel of the league. Yeah. Then we're going to be too far behind. So I really think we need to find someone who has had experience in the league before, is available, is ready to go. They're not going to have any period where they need to find their feet. They're going to get straight in there and be ready to rock and roll. Now, I know when we posted we got rid of J-Rock, Jerome handles Randall, says, I'm ready. I'm sorry, Jerome. You're 38 years old. And also, anyone who posts on social media that they're ready, I think that's code for I'm desperate, but really I'm not ready. Yeah. So that was what I'm reading into that. So I wouldn't be going down the path of the Jerome Randall. I would be, and I did see Julian O'Brien post on a fan page how the Hawks, he used an example of how Kings were struggling one season and an import got injured and they brought in Ian Clark, and then their season changed. They went on and win the championship. And he said, so don't lose faith, Hawks fans. It can happen. One player can make a difference, and I do agree with that. And he said, we just need to find out Ian Clark. And I said, well, why can't our Ian Clark beat Ian Clark? And now I know a lot of fans are going to be, no, he was a so-and-so in the championship game last year, but he's playing for someone else. You want someone who's competitive. Yeah. You want someone who is on the line, has their heart on the sleeve for the team. Like, he's going to be one of those players, that you might love to hate when he's on another team, but he's on your team, you're going to love him. The dude can shoot the hell out of it. We lack three-point shooting a little bit at the moment. He's a great defender, and he's super clutch. In key moments of the game when the Hawks have actually struggled in close games, he's someone we could go to who can get you a bucket. He's automatic from the free throw line. You saw in that final series last year, he got fouled by Harvey before Harvey hit that huge three that we all know about will go down to history. He stepped up and hit all three that gave him the lead. No one does that. I checked, and he doesn't see the last team that has down for him playing is the Puerto Rican team that he played for in the off season. I'm pretty sure their season's not on now because that's where JaVale McGee was playing, Menenga was playing, a lot of NBL players are playing. So potentially he could be free. He's played with McGee, he won an NBA championship. I was about to say, there's the connection McGee. There. I don't know. Like, I'm no so-called expert. I'm just throwing out there. If it's not Ian Clark, I'd like someone like that who's been in the league. I know there was talk at the start of the season about Walton Jr. Being some sort of a chance or talk with the Hawks, but I also heard that there was actually no talks, but there was just a rumor from people created. But I don't know, even like someone who has had experience in the league, I would obviously prefer Ian Clark over Walton Jr., but that style of player who can come in seamlessly and make a difference immediately, I think that's what the Hawks need. I know they could get some big name and everyone's going to get excited. Oh my God. And then they're going to go, but it's not as easy to come in, especially as you're a point guard. You control the team. Yeah. You run the team. If you're a point guard, you haven't gone to any training sessions with this team and all of a sudden you're going to be thrown in and then got games week after week. How are you going to be the person running the team when you don't necessarily know the foundations or the plays or the structures we like to run? It's not easy. Yeah. I know they're professionals, but it's not easy to come in. It's not like you're just a spot up shooter. Like, we're going to get you, if you're going to be a point guard, you're going to run the team. Like, I know Ian Clark's not essentially a point guard. That's why I like it. He can come in, it'll be seamless. He can knock down shots. Harvey can play the one a little bit more. Hopefully Hickey's going to be okay and can come in and play the one a little bit. You got Bales, who's shown he's a big balls. Bales, BB. He's been outstanding. Hey, double figures from our boy as well.
Killed it.
Loved it.
Killed
Loved it. I heard lots of people sitting around me saying he's my favourite player now. He's going to have a big cult following. Sure, he's going to be like the kids' favourite. But that's my take. What's your take on the type of player that Hawks should be looking to get?
I definitely think it's someone like an Ian type. If it's not Ian Clark, it's an Ian Clark type player. And it was interesting that the wording that they said in the press conference yesterday, that it would be an import player of sorts, that it wouldn't just be a like for like. Yeah. Like, you're not just going to get a straight up point guard. That's it. All they're going to do is play the point. They're going to come off the bench. They will be the point guard off the bench. That's it. You don't want that. You want someone who can fill different roles, because heaven forbid, and knock on wood, that something happens to anyone else this season, that you want them to be able to fill multiple roles. So someone like an Ian Clark can go a 1-2, or if you're playing small ball, can go the 3, but can guard 1 through 3.
He's an excellent defender, but obviously we're going to be looking for a 1-2. I don't think they really want to clog it up with another 3. We do have a lot of 3s there already with Grids, Wani, and even Toddy can play that 3.
Jackson Ball's a 3, Narkle's a 3, 2-3.
You don't want to clog that up too much and then restrict those opportunities for those guys. We definitely do need a 1-2, but I'm not necessarily saying we need a. I know a lot of people are saying we do need a flat-out point guard, and I do understand that. But if Hickey's going to come back soon and he's going to be the point guard, and he knows the thing, like, we need someone now to come in who can maybe play a little bit of point, but then when he comes back, slot into a nice little two spot. And also, I'm very, like, if you get a new import who hasn't played in the league before and he's playing point, it's difficult. It's not easy. I've seen Andrew Andrews come into Cairns, and I've only a small sample space. I watched a little bit of their game the other night, and I'll be honest with you, I didn't like his style of play. It took away massively from a guy who I rate, so I might be a little bit biased. McVeigh just didn't get his hands on the ball. The last quarter was a close game. That dude is absolute ice in his veins, clutch. Get that man the ball. He will make things happen. And it was all Andrews. He's just jacking up 3s. And I'm like, the last play of the game, they had 4 seconds, inbounded from the baseline. Like, McVeigh was setting like a screen. Go get the ball. Let him get the ball. Dribble up. He's hit a halfway shot in the finals game before. Yeah. Like, give the guy a shot.
Yeah.
Like, well, Andrews was just an over-dribbling, wanting to shoot 3 sort of point guard, which is what's going to happen when you come in, you haven't trained with the team. You want to make an impact, so you try and rely on your individual ability, individual skills, rather than running offense and getting other people involved. And I feel that's what's happening. McVeigh is your $1 million man, Andrews. Get that dude the ball. That's what you want. So I don't necessarily want an import to come in and, like, think that they have to be the hero. Do your role, hit shots when they're there, play good defense, make a difference, but don't necessarily have to have the ball in your hand for 20 of the 24 seconds. Yeah. And I feel like that's what Andrews was doing for Cairns. And it was only a small sample space, so it might change for him, but that's what I don't necessarily want for the Hawks.
No, absolutely. And worth noting as well, in that press conference, it was great. The vibes in there were great. I was lucky enough. I had Jared Novelly and Tori from Crest Sports come and sit up the back with me and sit next to me. We had a great chat. And I'm telling you, mate, those new rings that they've got themselves, whew, nice. They are shiny. They are some.
Who was the player with JT? And I didn't see the press conference.
It was JT and Wani. And Wani walked straight in, saw me, gave me a good old nod and a smile, and the demeanor just changed. Obviously, we've got another 29 games to go. We've got 33 this season. They've got their famous road trip over back to Perth as well. We had a good old laugh with Tatum about it at the end, purely for the fact that I was like, you're going back over there. Surely you're excited to just get it over and done with. But again, Corey, 2 more road games and then our coveted Halloween game back at home against the Breakers, which all things considered,
we should have a new import by then.
Well, not only that, but we might also hear he's back over the speakers.
Oh,
and our good old man, number 6, might just play. But that will be all for another episode on the Hawks Hangouts when we come back to you. Hopefully when the team has won quite a few more games after a nice little road trip. Maybe some new additions, new faces. And our man, Big Dave O'Hickey, the finals MVP, back on the court in front of our home fans.
Number 6, baby.
Corey, it's been a pleasure. like absolutely always. Like always.
You got to say it. You got to start it.
And as always, Hawks fans,
Fly.
fly high.